idea. If things are a problem, walk faster. You know, you're going through the valley of the shadow of death, do not stop and build a condo. Get on through there. Thank you. Are you ready to be free? Are you ready to let go of any and all obstacles to your total bliss and joy? And take a deep breath, and we're going to do our treatment for freedom together. I speak my word for myself, my center, and all its members and friends. I know love as the only reality. I am created out of love. Love is what I am. I know this love as absolute freedom in every area of my life, the life of my center, and all who call it home. I know our center's mortgages are paid in full, and I claim for all of us financial freedom with all debts paid and cleared. I release any sense of struggle or wrongdoing. I live in an abundant universe where there is more than enough for all. We experience freedom in every moment by always having more than enough money, vibrant health, and loving relationships. We are who we have come here to be. With hearts open wide, we see the world through the eyes of love. We are blessed, we are rich, and we are free. And so it is. And we use our points of power. I always pay attention. I always tell the truth and tell it quickly. I always ask for what I want when I want it. I always take total responsibility for my experience. I always keep my agreements. And so it is.
Oh, you get a lot of me today.
Yay!
I want to talk to you about warriorship today. I take such a great honor acknowledging veterans. I got this close to being in the Vietnam War, and it just ended. My birth year was up. I'd always been 300 plus in the 365 day options of the draft lottery, except when it was my year, and then I was 19. Anybody I knew that was under 50 went out and enlisted immediately. I went to the Air Force and chatted, took their tests and their exams, but procrastinated long enough for the Secretary of Defense to postpone or discontinue the lottery. And I just sat sobbing that day, knowing that I would have died if I went to Vietnam. I was sure of it. And that wasn't to happen. But out of that, which some would say would be a cowardly state, I have grown such great respect for people who could do that. And I am so honored that you're willing to stand and receive that blessing from me. So that being the case, I really do want to focus on this idea of warriorship today, this idea of being a spiritual warrior, this idea of using the value of this idea of being a warrior in a meaningful way. Not everybody likes that term warrior. It's got war in it, and most people think that makes it bad. But there's something much deeper in this idea of what a warrior is in the work of the Jungian archetypes. Warrior is a revered state. And it's not because a warrior goes around killing anybody or getting aggressive and violent. That's not the work of the warrior. You saw those that stood before you today. Did you notice how many women were in there?
Yes.
Yeah. Somebody counted. Did you notice I did not ask any of them if they were actually in combat? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They served in a way that they put their lives on the line. And they put their fellow soldiers' lives on the line, because if they did not do their job, somebody could die. They had that burden to carry every day. And my guess is each one of them that stood here, including our police officer, each one of them was up to the task. There's actually a warrior in all of us. And what I'd like to do today is kind of reveal that in some of what I want to share. But I want to begin with a great example of what a warrior can be, something that happens continuously in this country. This is the Tomb of the Unknowns. In England, they have a similar place. They call it the Tomb of the Unknown Warrior. The bodies that are interned there are intentionally not known the identity of. They don't know who they are. They actually exhumed bodies from battlefields around the world and switched their caskets so that no one that touched them knew who they were, and brought them to Arlington National Cemetery, where they are there forever. And our agreement as a country is that always that tomb will be guarded. Why do you guard a tomb? It's because they're honoring these that gave their lives. Something anyone in military service or police service or firefighting service could face. They're honoring them not because of their identity, because of who they are symbolically. So they do this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They do it through hurricanes and blizzards. They don't leave their post until the next replacements show up. In one case, during a hurricane that went through the eastern seaboard, one soldier stayed there for 23 hours because his replacements couldn't get there. That's extraordinary. And what an example of this idea of being a warrior, of being up to the task before you no matter what. Now, most people identify warriors as those that are being aggressive, that are in battle, that are in combat, that have the skills to take life. But I want you to know that warriors are people with hearts. And they have real lives. Sometimes they tend to children, even in the middle of a battle. There's 2 women soldiers in that scene right there. Sometimes they have their own children. Warriors can be lovers. These 2 warriors are seeing their children for the first time. They obviously were not there when those children were born. They were serving their country. But luckily they got home safe pretty quick. And sometimes it's overwhelming. Firefighters are warriors. They're the ones that go in and pull people out, even people with little bodies. They do whatever they have to do. So do police. Here's 2 pictures. They are the same 2 people. The picture on the left, this police officer has just pulled this child, this little girl, out of a raging fire. They were both injured by that, but they both recovered. And the picture on the right is when they came together again for her college graduation, 18 years later. Isn't it lovely? This is an Israeli policewoman holding a child after a bombing in Israel. Warriors exist all around the planet, and it's important that we have them. To me, a warrior is not an aggressor. A warrior is a sacred, a noble protector. And you think, well, you know, in our teaching, we don't require that. We don't want to get in the triangle with a rescuer. But what's interesting is it's not about holding a gun or a blade or any other weapon and using it on somebody. It's about being clear. It's about doing your job. It's about risking everything that needs to be risked for something or someone else. That is the essence of the warrior. And that essence dwells inside of you. This is the origination of spiritual warrior. Let me read this with you. According to Buddhist philosophy, the spiritual warrior is a heroic being with a brave mind and an ethical impulse who combats the universal enemy, self-ignorance, the ultimate source of suffering. So the enemy of the warrior is self-ignorance, according to the Buddhists. Is there anyone here that would not like to have that within you? Wouldn't you want to know that that's the thing to get rid of, is a sense of not knowing who you are as a spiritual being? About not living from that in every moment, every day? Isn't that the work that we've come here to do? Isn't that what we want to get really good at? So what I've done is I want to look at this idea of spiritual warrior. It aligns very much with the warriors of our society. You know, we have gone through many horrible conflicts, human conflicts called world wars and regional wars since the inception of humankind. It's just something in us that still is not totally healed around this idea of needing to go to battle. Fortunately, we've created an environment in this country, not where there's not violence, there is violence, but the idea of actually being attacked on this soil is relatively new. It didn't really happen in a way that got all of our attention until 2001 during the attacks on the Pentagon and the World Trade Center. That got our attention. So now we watch this and we pay attention. And yes, there have been these other attacks and attempted attacks. And our country spends a lot of more tax money providing a sense of figuring out who is intending to attack and how that's going to happen. My guess is when President-elect Trump received his first full briefing on security measures, it was sobering for him. I can only imagine what he learned that day. And how could that not affect his psyche? So that's the philosophy. Let's look at the essence of a spiritual warrior and what that means. A spiritual warrior always moves forward. There is no retreat. That actually is something that was clearly put forth by General George Patton when he was pushing the Nazis back. He said, I don't want to hear that you're holding your ground. You continue to move forward constantly as we take this ground. And that idea is essential as an elemental activity of the warrior. The warrior moves forward. The spiritual warrior moves forward. Is there fear? Yes. Is there uncertainty? Yes. Is the outcome not clear? Yes, it's not clear. What do? You move forward. You do what you have to do. You do take the next step no matter what. Do you make mistakes? You bet. You do things that you're not happy about. And what do you do when you do that? You correct. You do it again until you get it right. You stay with it. Training is an essential part of being a warrior. Warriors are trained. Deeply trained, long, harshly trained, so that they can be prepared for whatever comes forward, and so that they can move forward in every circumstance and situation, so they can do what they have come to do. We in our lives, we want to move forward, we want to accomplish the things that are ours to accomplish, and we get distracted. We do. We think, not good enough, there's not enough time, I don't have the right resources. We give ourselves all these excuses. I'm not separate, am I, Devon? But we move forward anyway, because that's our work. That's what we've come to do. We did not come just to receive the joyous experience of being human. We came to contribute to it. And that's the warrior with us that calls us to do that, no matter what. A warrior tends to have attributes that are physical. Trained to use weapons, trained to be in combat, trained to be physical, but that's not the highest essence of a warrior. A warrior's highest calling is to be mentally prepared for whatever is happening, whatever happens, to know what to do in every circumstance, to be on the ready. The work of the warrior is basically mental. That's the training, that's the work. And when you hold that level of clarity in your life, you often don't have to do those things that are so dangerous, those things that would seem aggressive. Even though you have the ability to do it, you don't do it. My teacher in Australia is the one that taught me about the tiger. That anytime I think that in any way I am being emotionally or mentally challenged, to bring my Bengal tiger into wherever I'm going, and to have this amazing, monstrous cat right by my side, that I could direct to pounce upon anyone or anything at any moment. Of course, I would never do that. But the idea of having that is extraordinary. And what happens is, at some level, everybody around me knows something's going on. Don't mess with him. Yeah. And when I do that, it has worked out beautifully in every circumstance. And that is the stance of a warrior. To be able to do whatever is needed to be done, even though the chances are that's not going to happen. Again, those that stood here, it doesn't matter whether they ever were in combat or they ever did anything militarily aggressive. It matters that they were prepared to do what was their job to do. And that is our job as spiritual warriors, to be prepared to do whatever needs to be done. That's our work. The spiritual warrior acknowledges the frailty of life. The way my teacher, Will Rockingbear, said that is, wear death on your shoulder. As your counselor, listen to it. Know it's there at all times. Why would you do that? I guarantee you, if you remember that you are not immortal, that your body is frail and can cease to function at any time, it makes this present moment so incredibly valuable. I'm here right now. Let's celebrate that. Because tomorrow I may not be. I'm here right now. And he taught that with such clarity. And I watched him leave this world, and he did it with dignity. And he used every day. He and I did not agree on anything. Surprise, surprise. But we never lost respect for one another, because we were both in that present moment. And when you are in the present moment, recognizing the value of your life, you can't be at war with anybody. You can't be against anything. It's too precious. It's too wonderful to turn away from. A spiritual warrior values loyalty and commitment. Amazingly, the thing about a warrior is that there is something bigger than themselves in their life. Could be a person, it could be a country, it could be certain people, it could be an ideal. Something is bigger than them, and they are here to serve that. It's often said that a warrior does not go into battle because of what is before him. He goes into battle because of what is behind him, what he has left behind to serve, to do that work, to do that complete giving of himself. And we all have that in our lives. We have something that we treasure so much that we would give our lives for it. We don't think about that, but we would. We absolutely would. And that's a warrior stance. You might be getting the idea that it's actually good to be a warrior. A spiritual warrior lives honorably. The spiritual warrior lives in integrity. Those 5 ideas that we share every Sunday are the work of the warrior. To be able to say and do and act and live according to those values holds us in a state of warriorship. Truly, a warrior is all about being disciplined, being ready, being willing and acting on what is important to us. And I know that every one of you right now is feeling that tug, because that dwells wholly within you. It is the essence of who you are. It is not all that you are, but it is essential to your wholeness. So please don't turn away from this idea of the warrior. The warrior is the best of you. We do get to enjoy life. Isn't it wonderful that we get to enjoy life? But we come to give to life. We are not here just to take. And our loyalty and our honorability, being honorable in who we are, is essential to living the fullness of our lives. We each have a primary archetype. There are 4 of them. There's the warrior, the lover, the magician, and the king. And each one of you has one that is your primary. It's the one you're most comfortable with. And warrior is not my primary. But boy, when I get into it and think about what it takes to do that good work, I am amazed. And I love seeing that in me. It's really probably of the 4 of them, the hardest one for me. But when I recognize it and live from those levels of ethics and understanding, my life is better. So I invite you to join me in this, in knowing the truth of who you are. Yes, you are a lover. Yes, you are a magician because you deal with information and create things in your life all the time. Yes, you are a king because you have a sovereign essence to yourself. You're also a warrior, and you can do whatever is before you because that is who you are. Robert Moore wrote a book, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. It's about the Jungian archetypes, and this is what he says about the warrior. The warrior's loyalty is ultimately to himself. He lives not to gratify his own personal needs, but to hone himself with spiritual discipline so that he can bear the unbearable in service to something greater than himself. You are a warrior. And that essence of power and ability and honor dwells within you. Let it show. It's okay. And from that place, you can do anything. And nothing in life is going to overtake your path of awakening. Nothing. Even a presidential election. You are bigger than that. So as we move forward and observe the happenings in our country, don't be afraid. Don't feel in any way that you've lost anything. You've lost nothing. Your warrior is intact. And you can express that joyously, lovingly, spiritually, every day of your life and make the world a better place. This is the truth. And so it is.